Hey, Remarkable Lifers, this is Craig. I recently flew out of the Guadalajara Airport back to the United States to visit friends and family for the holiday, and I want to tell you a few tips about what I learned on my first trip back to the States. Stay tuned. Okay, so we're going to have a little conversation. We're going to do this one at a time for each step along the way. I have my best husband in the world mug here that my handy dandy husband bought me. He's not going to be here today for this video because I flew out alone. He did not go with me, so he has no idea. It's kind of fun because then I get to be the expert the next time we do leave the country. But number one, and the first thing that you probably need to know, is getting there. So for me, I had a friend drop me off at the airport. We all went up, and he is a local here in Mexico. Thank you. You know who you are. And I had him help me navigate this new world, new environment for me. So first and foremost, parking. I would recommend parking the first time you go to the airport and you don't know what you're doing. Use that parking garage, go into the terminal and look around, get there a little early so that you understand where you're going. Because some of the things that you need to do are not exactly just right out there in front of you. And I'll explain that in just a minute with I.N.M. But first and foremost, learn the layout of that airport. That's going to help you a lot in the future. Also, the traffic coming in and out, the drop-offs is very, very tight. And a lot of the officers that are there kind of navigating and directing people aren't very patient with waiting for you to unload and say your goodbyes and do your hugs and all that stuff. So inside the airport, much easier. The whole front half of that airport is shops and restaurants and those types of things. The back half is your ticket counters and your I.N.M offices and all of that, security, etc. So the first thing that I would recommend is parking. First time you go, park. If you're not with someone, then drop off, go in, and check out the lay of the land. Get yourself familiar with where you're at. Okay, so number two. Number two in order on our video, not number two of importance. This next one's very important. So you want to make sure that you have your residence card, your residency card, whether you're temporal or permanente, and your passport available, because you're going to look for the I.N.M station. So you're walking into the airport, you're on the right-hand side, you see the ticket counter, scan the back wall, look over to your right, you'll see a glass front booth. It looks like a ticket booth or maybe a large toll booth or something like that, but it's off to the right with a counter. And there will be a sign that says I.N.M or immigration, but it kind of sits back to the right and behind a pole. So I don't know who put it there, but you just deal with it. But that's what you look for. You want to get in line there, have your documents ready, have your passport open, have your temporal card ready to go. When they look at that, they're going to mark that as either resident temporal, which is RT, or resident permanente, so RP. And they're going to write on it and stamp it. And now some of them may say salida, which is leaving. So you can also look for that. But the important thing is that you have your residency status in initials on there for you. Because you don't want them to mark you as a tourist leaving, because it's going to be a problem when you come back. These things can invalidate, even sometimes if it gets marked incorrectly, it can invalidate your Canje process or your resident status. So you don't want that to be messed up. As long as it says, if you're a temporary resident, RT, permanent resident, PR, and then look for the salir or salir, okay? Important. So I'm going to show you what my stamp looks like. This is what it looks like. You see here, it might be backwards, but that's RT and then some other word. So that's your stamp to go out of the country. When you get the next step, which is step number 3, you want to go over to the ticket counter and you want to check in. Do you have baggage? That's important to know. If you're having baggage, it has to go through the check-in process and customs to get out of the country, so that you're not, smuggling an iguana, or just make sure that you've gone through the proper procedures. You go to that ticket counter, check in. There will be attendants there to ask, and many of them do speak English. ¿Dónde está los boletos, or something like that is, mi maletas. Where are the tickets? My suitcases. Just any little word will help them prompt them. So if you know some Spanish or if you can practice those things, it makes it easier on you. But for just as a general rule, they know what you want. They do this all day long. They see the blank look in your eye, and you ask about tickets. They know the word. They send you to that desk. So you look for your airline. You do everything as normal. You can check in via kiosk, or you can go up to the counter. They will ask you to set your bags onto the counter to weigh and make sure it meets the weight requirements, and then to pay right there and have your credit card out ready to go. They'll want to see your passport. They'll want to see they might want to see your residency card just to make sure that it matches who you are. And then they take your bags that you are checking, and you get paperwork in return, and you can walk away. And that next step then would be to go to security. So at this point, I have gotten my bags checked and I want to go to security, but my friends were still with me. So they were kind of hanging around back. It was my husband and a friend, actually. And we decided to grab some breakfast because we got in there early to make sure the process went well. And so we grabbed some breakfast at there's a Burger King, and there's a couple of different restaurants and some shops that are in the front that anybody can go into. So we were able to sit down and have breakfast at Burger King before I went through security, which was really nice. To say goodbye, to do everything that you get your last minute stuff in, or just simply get a meal before you get on the airplane. You know how that can be. Once you get done with that, or whatever you're doing outside there, and you want to go through security, there will be a security checkpoint, which is similar to any I've ever seen. Just follow the lines. They are in English and Spanish. One will tell you it's for priority flyers. One will tell you it's for general population. So I went into the general population one. They check you through just like any other airport. You have your passport out and your ticket. In this case, they did not check my passport, or I'm sorry, my ticket. They only checked the passport. So one thing to know about the Guadalajara Airport is they give you oversized tubs, and everything goes into those tubs, including your bag, your carry-on bag. So you put your carry-on bag in one. If it fills it up, you get another one. You put your belt, you put your little baggie, you put all these, whatever you've got, your laptop, those types of things. It goes through security. You walk through a metal detector. They do have the scanners, but I think they only have like one. And so I just walked through a general metal detector, and someone waved me through. And at the other end, I got my bags, I got my personal belongings, and put them all back together, and went off to find my gate. So that's the next piece of this story. At the gate, here I am, alone, in a Spanish-speaking country. My Spanish skills are minimal at best, and I have to figure out what gate to go to. Fortunately, the gate is on my ticket, and I can easily find it. It's a very small international airport with very small gates, so I was able just to find it right away. It was off to the right. I went down there, was able to check the time, check everything on my app. I was flying American Airlines. I was able to check the app, see that it was still on time. The sign matched. It had my destination on it. Everything was great. Had a little time, stopped and got some coffee, did all of that inside the airport. And then I figured, well, I better figure out my boarding group. And that's when I realized that some of the announcements were really heavily in Spanish, and then they would do the English. And it kind of scared me a little. So I started looking at other people's tickets to see their boarding groups, and if they were holding their ticket in their hand. Sometimes you can even ask if you see another person that speaks English, you hear them speaking English, and what was your boarding group? And it helps you get into an order. That was what I did. Turns out it wasn't necessary, because once they get up to the boarding, when you get to boarding and they make that announcement, they did do it in English, and they did. So they did group number 1, group number 2, group number 3 with hand signals and Spanish and English. And so it was very user-friendly. It was very easy. They lined you up, you got on the plane, you found your seat just like normal. The announcements are on the plane were in Spanish and in English. And so, I've flown a million times. I kind of know safety procedures, but if you want to listen to those, or at least understand what is happening for you and any delays and such, they were in English. So that's very nice. here we are, we're on the plane, we take off, and we are flying to my home country. So that's something that's really important for you to really understand, is that once you are on that plane, everything is done. You are home free. And the next step will be your home country's customs process. So for me, it was in the United States. So we got off and it funneled you into the customs process. You showed your passport, and I had my American ID ready, but I didn't need it. I just needed my passport. You go over, you get your baggage, you go through customs. It was a very easy process, everything in English, and you follow what you're used to doing, or just follow the instructions. For anyone who's not from the United States, I'm sure you have your own process as well. But know that once you get to your home country, everything kind of goes away, and you're like, I made it. So now, before we close this video, I want to give you a couple of tips that I did while I was traveling. Number one, always make sure you know where your passport, your residency card, and your U.S. ID are. Always have those. I like to split them up. I will have one in my wallet, one in another pocket. I will save one in a safe wherever I'm going, those kind of things, so that I always have one if something happens, something bad happens in my home country. I have that to get back in. You don't need to carry your residency card for Mexico while you're in the United States. So lock that up, keep that safe. One other thing is for me, a lot of times I need personal items, or I was coming back and bringing more clothing back, or picking up a couple of things that we needed. I originally packed my first suitcase going there with another suitcase inside. And then that way I'm only paying for one suitcase. And then on the way back, I got the items that I needed to pick up, my personal items. And then I had two coming back. Saved me a fee for an a piece of luggage. So it's just a good little tip. I like to throw those things in. The other thing is to make sure that you know when your flight is leaving, get there early. All of those things that you do with your regular travel, make sure you allow a little bit more time to familiarize yourself with the process leaving the country. You might run into challenges. There might be delays. You might miss an announcement because you don't speak the language. Any of those things could happen. So just allow yourself a little bit more time. So I hope this information helps. I'm really glad that I got to share this with you guys, because I know when I was doing it, I was looking for videos and I didn't find anything that just walked me through the whole process. So that's why I tried to do this for you. I hope it helps. And remember, the next video that we're going to do will be coming back into Mexico from your home country. And for me, again, that was United States. So it might be a little more pertinent, but I think it will be valuable for everyone. So if you haven't already, I want you to go to our YouTube channel, hit that little subscribe button. That really, really helps us. And we want to bring you more content, and it will alert you when it's there, and you can be a part of our community. And you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. Please like and follow those as well. Like those posts. Let us know you're there. Say hi and comment. We always love hearing from you guys. But thank you for joining us. We really do appreciate you guys. If you haven't already, go find your truly remarkable life, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.